Let's bring in Marwan Bishara, Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. He joins us now from London. Marwan, what was interesting here is he had these two maps, I guess, which summarized his vision of what the problem is and what the solution is. The problem, as he saw it, I'll put it, is Iran and its influence. The solution is simply to continue to try and make peace agreements with everybody else in the Middle East, but no mention of the Palestinians, no mention of ending the occupation, of giving them the same equal rights to statehood, which so many UN officials have talked about as the root cause of the problem.
Yes, I think there's a large degree of delusion in Netanyahu's speech. If he dares to repeat what he said back in September, that already by October proved to be a delusion, it's quite telling about his character and about his capacity for stubbornness and repetition against the very reality that has been so stark the last year, including, for example, only recently declarations by Saudi Arabia that it will not normalize or sign a peace agreement with Israel except after the establishment of a Palestinian state on the territories occupied in 1967 with Jerusalem as capital. But that's not the only thing where Netanyahu has gone delusional. Look, before you and I talked before the speech, I prepared 4 notes about what Netanyahu will talk about. And I'm just going to now share them with you, Sami, because it's actually quite telling. I've heard the last dozen speeches that Netanyahu made to the United Nations. And in all 4 speeches, there were 4 themes. One, Israel lives in a dangerous neighborhood surrounded by a terrorist organization that want to annihilate Israel. 2, these are mostly supported by Iran, an evil country that is seeking nuclear weapon and want to destroy Israel. 3, Israel is good, Iran is evil. Israel is good not only for the Arabs, it's also good for the world because of its innovations and long arm and what have you. But last but not least, the world hates Israel. The world mostly is either a bit confused or mostly anti-Semitic and hates Israel. So no matter what Israel does, the world will always hate Israel. Now, these are the 4 things that have been repeated in every single speech he made since 2009 at least since 2009. In fact, as he just admitted, since 1984, he's been making similar speeches, right, about the region, about Iran, and so on and so forth. What was different slightly this time around, and, as they say, the cover from its, the book by its cover. He started the speech with blatant lies about how Israel wants peace. It doesn't, clearly. And 2, he repeated the debunked lies about what happened October 7, about the beheaded of babies and the burnt women and the raped women and this and that and the other thing that already most media outlets in the United States and elsewhere have debunked as lies.
Marwan, he made the point of saying that we are fighting for our life, Israel is fighting for its life, that it's fighting because of attacks, unprovoked attacks. Just analyzing that, how does that sit with the reality of decades and decades of denial of a people's right to statehood, of occupation of the territories of several Arab nations, and juxtaposing that with what we hear from Western leaders when they address Russia over Ukraine and say, hey, if you want peace, it's very simple. Just pull out, withdraw your forces, end the occupation. Yet there are several UN resolutions that call on Israel to do just that. What we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people walking...
So when it comes to Israel's defending itself, we've been speaking about that, you and I and others, since the very beginning of this year, since October 7 or 8, that Israel is not defending itself, is defending its occupation. Israel does not have a right to defend its occupation. The Palestinians have a right to resist their occupiers Israel has no inherent right to defend its belligerent occupation that, as you said, have lasted for almost 6 decades. And that's certainly been preceded by another 20 years of dispossession of a majority of the Palestinians who continue to linger in refugee camps some 8 decades later. So Israel's crimes against the Palestinians go on for a long duration, right? And the Palestinians have been resisting their occupiers, their dispossessors. And Israel claims that it's defending itself when, in fact, it's defending its occupation, its racism, its system of apartheid in Palestine. And what happened on October 7 and the comparisons then with Israel launching the war of genocide against the Palestinians have once and again been compared. And it was Biden who, on October 19, 12 days after the October 7 attack, that made the link between Ukraine and Israel instead of making the link between Ukraine and Palestine. So he basically compared Hamas to Russia and Israel to Ukraine and said both of them are victims, defending themselves and so on and so forth, and we were going to give them tens of billions of dollars. So it was the American administration that has given Israel the rationale, the right to defend itself when it's actually defending its occupation, and went on to shield it, to arm it, to finance it, and clearly to defend it at the United Nations. And that's why, and we need to remember that all the time, the likes of Netanyahu has the audacity, the arrogance to come to the United Nations and lectures the world and dare the world simply because the United States supports him. If it wasn't for the unconditional, blind and foolish, short-sighted American support of this criminal government, Netanyahu wouldn't be standing there, a war criminal, lecturing the world about hypocrisy and human rights.
All right, Marwan, always good talking to you. That's Marwan Bishara, our senior political analyst, commenting there on the address we just heard from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.